Hello my friends and welcome back to the channel. I'm Patty. I go by Pattymac Makes everywhere online. Today I want to show you what's kind of behind me here that I started working on. And this behind me came about because when I designed my strawberry quilt, in the initial concept it had a scrappy border, and I loved how it looked in the illustration, but I didn't love it in real life. So I wound up, I bought a kit for making a patchwork quilt, and that's where I got all these scrappy pieces. And I cut them to make that border. I cut some of them, not all of them. And I didn't like the border. So I just sort of tucked everything into a bag and put it away. And this week I finally had enough progress in my life that I was like, I can start sewing again. So on Christmas Eve, I got out that particular tub that had that project in it. And I was like, I'm going to start on this again. And I have to tell you, it's been a really good project because having not sewn anything in so long, you lose your skill set a little bit. It does take time to recover those skills and find that muscle memory again and all of that. So trying to do something that required precision, and I'm not ready for that. I need to warm up again. I purchased it as a kit from a small shop called Maker Valley, and I really like her stuff. And what she did is she sells, for this kit, it was 21 strips of fabric, all different strips of fabrics, 5-inch strips. And so she just cut them, with the fabric, 5 inches, and you got your strips, just random. And in her kit, she gives you like a kind of a rough pattern on basically what you do is you take your 5-inch strips, you subcut everything to 5-inch squares, and then just put it together as a patchwork quilt. So I thought, what if I take those border pieces that I started and sew a few more rows and see how that looks as its own quilt. And I really like it. I have to tell you, this is super fun to sew. So what I'm going to show you today is just where I am. I'll give you like an overview of that project. And then I'll just show you how I set them up to sew and put them all together. And this is not a tutorial. This is just sort of a chatty catch up. I'll do an actual tutorial on putting it together, probably for the new year, because I think it's a really good idea. Because the way that I set this up, you don't have to match any seams. There's no seam matching. Your cutting is not critical. Your seams, nothing is critical. You can just actually put stuff together and sew. The only thing you want to be mindful of is that you don't want to have the same prints like too close together or touching or something, because that really takes away from the scrappiness of the project. So that's the only thing you have to watch out for. You're just watching out for patterns. And maybe you don't want to pool a bunch of really light or dark colors together, because that's not going to read, super scrappy. But that to me is easy. And if you sew a couple of rows and you find that, oh, I used that same thing and they're touching, just put it in a different row. It doesn't matter. It's beautiful. And what you're going to see is that the pieces are not, like the edges are not square at all. And that's fine, because I'm just sort of fiddling around with where I want the seams to line up or not line up, as the case may be. And what I'll wind up doing is sew this thing together, and then I will trim it to size. And it's just super easy. Is it going to win an award? No, it's not. I'm not going to take anything like this to the state fair and win any prizes, and that's fine. I don't do this as an exercise in absolute precision. I don't do it to try to win prizes or awards. I like to quilt because I find it enjoyable. I like to play with prints. I like to enjoy the fabric. I like to enjoy the sewing. I just like to enjoy the process. I'm what you call a process quilter. Okay, without any further ado, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get off camera and flip it around, and I'm going to show you the project on the floor, and then I'm going to show you what I've got on my cutting table so that you can see how I set up to sew it. And I think I'll give you a little close-up view of the stockings. Those stockings, I'm super proud of those, by the way. Let me just flip and show you this. And yeah, I think you're going to like this project. Okay, so this is the progress I've made on this particular project. And I love this thing. So let me tell you, what I wound up doing was I cut 5-inch squares, and then I cut 5x8 rectangles, and then I alternated them. And that's all this is. Each row is just alternating the rectangle with the square, and you know, just trying to pick different prints and fabrics from the stockpile of stuff that you have. Now, I mentioned I had purchased this as a kit from Maker Valley, and it was all like pinks and some baby yellows, mostly pink though, and she doesn't have this anymore, so I guess it's sold out. But you know, you can go through your stash and pull your fabrics and just cut them yourself. And I wound up, because this is going to be a little bit larger project than what she had in her pattern kit. It'll be a little bit bigger, so I wound up cutting some of pinks and yellows that I had in my scrap stash and incorporating them in. So I was able to add a bit more yellow, which I really like. I really like pinks and yellows. But anyway, okay, so let me tell you how I constructed this. Basically, I sew rows, and then I'll put 4 of the rows together. And I'm going to walk over in the frame and just kind of show you what's going on. And then I'll do a little voiceover in this part and talk about it. So, okay, I'm going to walk into the frame and just show you how this is, because it's not completely put together yet. So here we go. As of filming the video clip here that we're watching, I have completed what I would call like 2 sections. So you can see I'm pulling one away. It consists of 4 rows, and it's just arbitrary. I just found that it was easier for me to manage it by just putting small bits together. I like to construct my quilt tops in stages. So doing a section, putting that to the side, connecting that to another section, that is what works best for me. So you can see I've got 2 completed sections, and then the one all the way at the bottom of the frame, it has 3 rows in it. So I will add 1 more row and consider that a finished section. I had stored all of these pieces together in a 2-gallon Ziploc bag. 2-gallon Ziploc bags are pretty awesome. If you don't know about those, I highly recommend. I just saved all of the 5-inch strips that came as part of the kit, and the ones that I had already cut. The squares and the rectangles, they were also stored in there, so that just, you know, everything was together. I love this because, so if you're making it yourself, let me back up. If you're making it yourself, you just cut your 5-inch strips, and then you're going to subcut those down into 5-inch squares. And I went with 5x8-inch rectangles. And then I just alternate square, rectangle, and so on across a row. And then when I put row to row, I just made sure that none of the seams were lining up, which, if you quilt, you know, that's sort of counterintuitive, but oh my gosh, it's really, really fun. Super fun. Here we are at my tabletop, and this is a very impromptu setup. I just wanted you to kind of see how I'm piecing my rows. So yeah, I'm set up on the top of my Tarnviken Island. You can see it here. And I am actually sewing on the Chemoir. I wanted to get it out. I haven't had it out and use it in months and months and months. So I wanted to go ahead and get it out and use it and make sure it's okay. And it sews like a champ. I love that machine. So that's what I'm using. And if I scroll down, what am I saying? The computer way too much. Here's what I did. I set up 2 piles. So I have a pile of the rectangles, and way over there I have a pile of the squares. And so I just kind of lay out a strip, and I just run it across. You can see it there. Those are just unsewn fabrics that I've laid out, and just, you know, run them along. And what I'll do is just sew them 2 by 2, a square to a rectangle, and then start putting those bits together, and that'll give me a row. And they go together very, very quickly. So that's really why I wanted to film this today, because I'm about to go ahead and get this row sewn, and then I would be able to complete another section. I just randomly decided I liked to do the sections in like bits of 4. That's just what I came up with. It's manageable to me, so I can sew 4 individual rows, put those together, and then put those sections together to sort of lay out how I want my quilt top to look. And I think that is working really good. I wanted to pull this out for you to see if I can get it to focus. Here we go. So this was the instructions that came with the quilt kit, and you can see she's calling it the Pretty in Pink Patchwork Quilt Kit, which she doesn't have anymore. I bought this a while ago. I mean, I bought this like, oh my goodness, way last spring, maybe winter. I'm not even sure. I'd have to look back and get the purchase date. But this is what I got. And so here's what she says. The kit includes 45 different fabrics cut into 5 by 21 inch strips from a variety of fabric lines. Each strip is intended to be subcut into 4 5-inch squares for a total of 180 5-inch squares, which will make 12 columns and 15 rows, a patchwork quilt that measures about 54 by 67.5. Perfect throw size. I don't know what my size is going to be yet. I don't know. It's going to be basically a throw size. I'm calling it my napping quilt because one of my resolutions for the new year is that I take more naps because I desperately need the rest. And I wanted just a pretty fun quilt that I could just put over me when I lay down instead of having to, you know, pull the bed apart and, you know, have to remake a bed before I get a bed and all of that stuff. I just wanted something I could just put over me and lay down and just to have a quick hour's rest in the day on days that I need it, which is most days, quite honestly. But anyway, so yeah, I think that's another thing that makes this so much fun because I'm not measuring anything. You know, the only thing I measured was cutting the pieces. But yeah, I don't know what the finished size is just yet. So essentially what I'll do is just, you know, make it until I feel like it's long enough where I want it. And then I'll measure that to figure out how many strips I need to make my binding. And for my backing, I'm just going to use old sheets. I've got a load of old sheets in my fabric stash that I've been holding to the side. I'm just going to pull one, probably a flat sheet, and just use that as backing for this. And it's just going to be super simple and go with that. That's the video for today. I hope you enjoyed seeing this fun little project I've been working on. And let me know if it's something you think that you would also like to work on. Okay, until then, I will see you around YouTube, and happy quilting, my friends. I'm just going to film this handheld so you can see the Christmas stockings up close. Aren't they beautiful? Those are the ones where I put the 6-inch quilt block into the quilted Christmas stocking, and I love how those came out. That's the one I'm working on for that pattern, the printed pattern. And this one I made last year, and it's just taking fabric and quilting it, and then I just put that fun trim on it. And then I made the tassel with the jingle bells. This is the baby stocking, and I just took, I think this is, oh God, what's her name? Not Pioneer Woman, maybe? I think it's Pioneer Woman. That's from her stuff that I got in Walmart. And yeah, I just quilted the fabric and made a little baby stocking, and I think it's super cute. So maybe we'll do a little sew along with those, even though it's past Christmas. It's still fun to make.